them, began to be quoted increasingly in arguments for alien visitation. Strained connections were drawn to the face on Mars. One scientist of my acquaintance wrote to me that extremely sophisticated mathematics was hidden in these figures. They could only be the result of a superior intelligence. In fact, one matter on which almost all of the contending seriologists agreed is that the later crop figures were much too complex and elegant to be due to mere human intervention, much less to some ragged and irresponsible hoaxers. Extraterrestrial intelligence was apparent at a glance. In 1991, Doug Bauer and Dave Chorley, two blokes from Southampton, announced they had been making crop figures for 15 years. They dreamed it up over stout one evening in their regular pub, the Percy Hobbs. They had been amused by UFO reports and thought it might be fun to spoof the UFO gullibles. At first they flattened the wheat with a heavy steel bar that Bauer used as a security device on the back door of his picture-framing shop. Later on they used planks and ropes. Their first efforts took only a few minutes, but being inveterate pranksters as well as serious artists, the challenge began to grow on them. Gradually they designed and executed more and more demanding figures. At first no one seemed to notice. There were no media reports. Their art forms were neglected by the tribe of ufologists. They were on the verge of abandoning crop circles to move on to some other, more emotionally rewarding hoax. Suddenly, crop circles caught on. Ufologists fell for it hook, line, and sinker. Bauer and Chorley were delighted, especially when scientists and others began to announce their considered judgment that no merely human intelligence could be responsible. Carefully they planned each nocturnal excursion, sometimes following meticulous diagrams they had prepared in watercolors. They closely tracked their interpreters. When a local meteorologist deduced a kind of whirlwind because all of the crops were deflected downward in a clockwise circle, they confounded him by making a new figure with an exterior ring flattened counterclockwise. Soon other crop figures appeared in southern England and elsewhere. Copycat hoaxsters had appeared. Bauer and Chorley carved out a responsive message in wheat. "We are not alone." Even this some took to be a genuine extraterrestrial message, although it would have been better had it read, "You are not alone." Doug and Dave began signing their artworks with 2 Ds. Even this was attributed to a mysterious alien purpose. Bauer's nocturnal disappearances aroused the suspicions of his wife, Eileen. Only with great difficulty, Eileen accompanying Dave and Doug one night, and then joining the credulous in admiring their handiwork next day, was she convinced that his absences were, in this sense, innocent. Eventually, Bauer and Chorley tired of the increasingly elaborate prank. While in excellent physical condition, they were both in their 60s now, and a little old for nocturnal commando operations in the fields of unknown and often unsympathetic farmers. They may have been annoyed at the fame and fortune accrued by those who merely photographed their art and announced aliens to be the artists. And they became worried that if they delayed much longer, no statement of theirs would be believed. So they confessed. They demonstrated to reporters how they made even the most elaborate insectoid patterns. You might think that never again would it be argued that a sustained hoax over many years is impossible, and never again would we hear that no one could possibly be motivated to deceive the gullible into thinking that aliens exist. But the media paid brief attention. Seriologists urged them to go easy. After all, they were depriving many of the pleasure of imagining wondrous happenings. Since then, other crop circle hoaxers have kept at it, but mostly in a more desultory and less inspired manner. As always, the confession of the hoax is greatly overshadowed by the sustained initial excitement. Many have heard of the pictograms in cereal grains and their alleged UFO connection, but draw a blank when the names of Bauer and Chorley, or the very idea that the whole business may be a hoax, are raised. An informative exposé by the journalist Jim Schnabel, Round in Circles, Penguin Books, 1994, from which much of my account is taken, is in print. Schnabel joined the seriologists early, and in the end made a few successful pictograms himself. He prefers a garden roller to a wooden plank, and found that simply stomping grain with one's feet does an acceptable job. But Schnabel's work, which one reviewer called the funniest book I've read in ages, had only modest success. Demons sell. Hoaxers are boring and in bad taste. The tenets of skepticism do not require an advanced degree to master, as most successful used car buyers demonstrate. The whole idea of a democratic application of skepticism is that everyone should have the essential tools to effectively and constructively evaluate claims to knowledge. All science asks is to employ the same levels of skepticism we use in buying a used car, or in judging the quality of analgesics or beer from their television commercials. But the tools of skepticism are generally unavailable to the citizens of our society. They are hardly ever mentioned in the schools, even in the presentation of science, its most ardent practitioner, although skepticism repeatedly sprouts spontaneously out of the disappointments of everyday life. Our politics, economics, advertising, and religions, New Age and old, are awash in credulity. Those who have something to sell, those who wish to influence public opinion, those in power, a skeptic might suggest, have a vested interest in discouraging skepticism.